Now, Nigeria's electoral reform process has sparked fresh transparency concerns after the National Assembly amended the Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2026, which governs key aspects of how elections will be conducted ahead of the 2027 general polls. Now, a major point of controversy has been the treatment of the electronic transmission of election results. The Senate initially rejected a proposal to make the real-time upload of polling unit results to the Independent National Electoral Commission portal mandatory, retaining instead the existing provision that gives INEC discretion over how results are transmitted. Critics argue this weakens transparency and could undermine public trust in election outcomes.
Opposition figures, civil society organizations, and observers want that decision represents a setback for democratic reforms, saying the hybrid system of manual and electronic reporting risks confusion and manipulation. In response to the backlash, lawmakers have moved to harmonize conflicting House and Senate positions on real-time result transmission, with a joint committee formed to reconcile differences between the bill sent to the presidency. Supporters of the clause maintain that mandatory electronic uploads will improve credibility and reduce disputes. Now let's discuss further. Joining us for the conversation is someone who we can say has been in the eye of the storm, Senator Adegbonmire, who is the chairman of the Senate Ad hoc Committee on Electoral Amendment and the chairman Senate Committee on Judiciary, Legal Matters and Human Rights. What a delight to have you at this point in time when the nation is crying, demanding for a version of unconditional real-time electronic transfer of results. What do you make of the protest so far against your version of the electoral draft?
Thank you very much. I am happy to be here. I think that it's important, first of all, for us to understand what IREF does. Because there's a total misconception or misinformation or deliberate misrepresentation of what IREF stands for. At no time did the Senate say INEC should not use IREF. So what is IREF? IREF was a software developed by INEC to publicize results already declared by INEC at the polling units. It's not an e-voting platform. And there's an error about Nigerians. They keep saying, oh, when I vote, I want to see my vote. It's not an electronic voting platform. It is a platform done to publicize results already declared by INEC at the polling units. And let me explain why I say so. You see, this is not an emotional argument, and it's important that we understand the law. So I've had people say that, the version of the House of Reps is the one that should be adopted. So I will read out to you the version that you talk about so that we understand this, because I think that the misconception is part of the problem. So what does that thing say? The presiding officer shall electronically transmit the results from each polling unit to IREF portal in real time, and such transmission shall be done after the prescribed form EC8A has been signed and stamped by the presiding officer and or countersigned by the candidates or polling agents who are available at the polling unit. After you have filled it into form EC8A. What is form EC8A? Form EC8A is filled manually.
No. Sorry, I need to come in here, Senator, yes, because of our time.
Yes.
I think the controversy here is people are demanding that there's a need for an unconditional real-time electronic transfer, and what the dual systemic transmission,
yes,
gives too much discretionary powers to INEC, and that's what people are complaining against.
That is also wrong. There is no dual transmission. And that's what I'm trying to explain to you. And that's part of the misconception that the media has brought into play. The provision that you keep emphasizing says the presiding officer will first fill the results in manually into form EC8A. It is form EC8A that has been filled manually that it transmits, uploads, transfers. And I'm happy when you were making your introduction, you used the word upload. So let's assume we have changed the word transmit to upload. We didn't have changed anything in the bill. The answer is no. Now, secondly, is that IRF has a pattern of working. You cannot change that software by legislation. People need to understand that. And at no time did the Senate say, oh, don't use IRF. It's total misconception. Whether we call it upload, transfer, transmission, for as long as we say IRF must be used, IRF will be used in the manner it has been configured. And what is that manner? And that's the point I'm making. The manner is simply that you must first manually write out the figures. It is after you have written out the figures and the polling agents have signed that you can upload or transmit or transfer whatever nomenclature you want to use. And that is the point. Now, what it therefore means is that where you have not complied with the proper filling of Form EC8AA, you can't upload it. And that's what people must understand. You can't upload it. So, when you talk about transmission, it has absolutely nothing to do with the sanctity of the voting process. What is the voting process? You go to your polling unit with your PVC. At the polling unit, your PVC is authenticated through the BVAS. Then you are given a ballot paper. And I must emphasize this. A ballot paper. That ballot paper is given to you to thumbprint. You thumbprint it, and after the election, it is counted manually. It is at that point that the results are declared at the polling unit, manually, orally.
Okay.
And then you fill in the Form EC8 and you upload it. Now, what does IRF then do? You upload it on IRF. So somebody says, oh, Unit 25, Ward 5, Akure South, which is my polling unit. This is the voting that will happen. But that is what was declared at the polling unit using Form EC8A. So when you talk about manual transmission, I'm saying that it's misconception. There's nothing like that.
Oh, okay. So if it's so uncontroversial as you have tried to
No, not that I have tried. That is a fact.
Okay. Let me land.
No, we are talking English here.
Let me land.
No, seriously.
Yeah,
don't misrepresent what I have said.
Can you allow us to
just
ask
yes, for the proper conversation
yes,
context.
Please.
If it is so, there's no problem, as you have said, or
Yes.
you've tried to advance the argument.
Yes.
Why then is it difficult for the Senate to use the word real time when the House decides to use real time? What is the big deal about using the term real time?
I would explain that to you.
Just explain exactly. Explain.
I would explain
so
that
they
to
can
you.
understand.
First and foremost, and that's why I say people need to understand. Let's not be emotional about it. What is real time? Real time would happen where you do electronic voting. That is the truth.
So why is the House of Reps using that
No,
word?
that is why you have a bicameral legislature. When one does something, the other cross-checks it. And let me explain why I say real time only happens in e-voting. And we are not doing e-voting. INEC does not even have the capability as we speak today. Maybe 2-3 years. That is all what we desire. And I'm sure INEC will work towards. But today, in 2026, and for the election in 2027, INEC does not have e-voting. So you talk about real time. And I'll give you a pragmatic aspect of it. Now, I come from Akure. I vote in Akure. All the electoral materials are brought into Akure 2-3 days and kept at the CBN. The night before, they start transporting them to different areas. There are places in Ondo State that you travel 8 hours to get to. And after you got in there, then you take a boat to get to some of the riverine areas. So, you start voting in Akure at 10 a.m. In some other places, you start voting at 2 p.m. They probably don't, some 4 p.m. They probably go and finish out at 10. So somebody uploads something from my unit at 4 o'clock because we finished voting and it's counted. But they are still voting in Adegbonmire. Then somebody, and he then posts his own at 10 p.m. Say, oh, this man has rigged because he's posting all late. The truth of the matter is that you are not going to see how I voted because it's not e-voting. Now, when you now talk about all the Senate has done is to say, look, we don't want a situation where somebody will come and say, oh, this man ought to have uploaded this thing at 2 o'clock.
But that's not it. That's not the point.
Listen, that's what real time means now.
No, real time means whenever you end the voting.
No.
Whenever you finish voting.
But I'm saying to
everybody
you, I'm saying to you, I'm breaking it down. Just hold on. So you don't do that. Now, the second aspect of it is this. You and I know that it's not every time that you put something on the internet that it goes through freely. Look, we have a situation in this country, whether we like it or not, and we need to be careful that the smallest thing could spark an issue. So somebody comes and says, no, I was at the polling unit. You finished at 2 o'clock. How come I'm just seeing it on IRF at 7? Oh, you must have rigged. Let me tell you. And that's why the media themselves, yourselves, have to be careful how you spin this thing.
No, we're only asking the right questions.
Yes, no, let me finish.
For clarity.
Now, let's assume somebody disputes an election. Are you going to say to me, or do you say to me, or anybody will say to me that, oh, it is what was on IRF. Whatever is on IRF, you can't dispute it. That is also not true. Because the actual evidence of the voting is not IRF.
Yeah, but
now,
the technology has a backup, so you can always go to the
you are not listening to me, madam.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is this: the actual voting, the evidence of the actual voting is in the manual from ECATA that has been recorded, not IRF. Now, and I give you a simple example. America is the biggest democracy. 2 instances when you had the Bush-Gore problem or the Trump-Biden, what did they do? They said, go and count the votes. They also published something similar to IRF. But they said, if you want to know how people actually voted, go and count the votes. So even if there's a dispute tomorrow, you won't say, oh, it's because IRF has published it. You say, okay, we want to see whether IRF corresponds with actual voting records that are appearing from ECATA. What I'm saying is that all of the hula-baloo, all of the bra is actually unnecessary.
Yes,
right, let me ask you a question here.
Yes.
Now, the report says that the clause requiring instant upload after results are signed was removed. Why?
Which clause?
That's what was said, that the clause requiring instant upload after results are signed was removed.
No, I'm not aware of that. On Tuesday, we sat. As far as I'm concerned, the resolution of the Senate on Tuesday is the resolution of the Senate.
So are you saying there was no clause that was removed?
No. On Tuesday, no.
Okay.
A proviso was added, not that the clause was removed.
Okay, distinguished. I think most of this controversy borders on public trust.
Yes.
This is the reason. Some people believe that the Senate is being hypothetical in the in the formation of this amendment bill, the electoral amendment bill. Why am I saying this? Section 47, subsection 3,
Yes.
rules provides that the beavers machine should, in case there is any situation where it fails to work, that there should be a rescheduling of that election. And the beavers, yes, and the beavers machine is more data consuming and works a longer hours than the IRF portal, the process of uploading in the IRF portal. So if the Senate could insist that the beavers should be the only mode of voting, and
no, not voting, of authenticating your voter's card.
Of authenticating, sorry.
Your voter's
then
card.
why is it so difficult to insist that the uploading to the IRF portal in real time should be mandatory?
Thank you very much. I think we should compare apples to apples. How does Beavers work? Beavers is a tablet already configured with every person's voter's card. So once you punch it into Beavers, there and then it's already uploaded on the device. That's totally different from IRF now. IRF, there is nothing on IRF from the beginning.
Indeed.
It is what you upload on the day of the election. So it's a totally different thing. Therefore, for you to be able to upload it on the device that you are using must have internet access. In Beavers, it's already configured. So there is absolute. So that's why I said let's compare apples to apples. And it's important that people understand it. I've had this argument before. So, hey, what is wrong with Beavers? I said, but Beavers is already configured.
Yeah, but we need to seek clarity because this system was adopted during the Osun election.
Yes.
It was also deployed during the National Assembly election.
Yes.
So people are saying that there is a need to strengthen transparency in our electoral process.
And that has been strengthened. And that's why I said there's a misconception. At no time, even before Tuesday, did the Senate say don't use IRF. And let me remind you, I'm happy that you've said this. There was elections in Edo under the 2022 Electoral Act. IRF was used. IRF was used. And let me tell you, in fact, why is there this issue now? It's because the Supreme Court said you can't rely only on IRF, particularly when it is not in the Act, but it is in the INEC guideline. That election in 2023, IRF was used. And the National Assembly now said, okay, if that is the issue, it's just to be in line with the Supreme Court judgment. Not that whether you legislate it today or we did not even amend the Act, INEC will still use IRF.
Sorry, because of our time, Dr. Constance wants to...
So, I want to take you up when you said comparing apples to apples.
Yes.
You and your colleagues, and government officials, spokespersons have been trying to compare Nigeria to India to the United States, saying there are examples of these countries where they had issues. You mentioned 2 cases in America out of a history of 200 years of democracy, and India, 1.4 billion or 1.5 billion people. You rarely hear about elections being contested because everything is done credibly. So my question to you is, here in Nigeria, is the effort to make progress in terms of election in Nigeria, or is it the lawmakers and other government officials trying to legislate loopholes? We should be moving forward and not giving excuses. What's your take on that?
I must confess I don't understand your question. And I
So the
why.
question
Put it in context.
The question is, why should we be having controversy over elections that we have been conducting since 1999? Isn't it time we grow up and make it clear and gain public trust that the intention is to conduct great elections that are credible, that are fair, and that you can trust in? What the legislators are doing, it seems like it doesn't help with public trust.
No. You see, that's a very unfair statement, because it's not a question really. You've made a statement and tried to cloud it like a question. That's a statement.
It is an analysis of
No,
the situation.
hold on
It
now.
is an analysis of the situation.
Madam,
and a question
let me make a point to you. And that's why I said you didn't ask me a question. You made a statement. But I would then respond as best as I am to your statement. It's not a question. Let me make it. First and foremost, I think it's totally unfair for you to say legislators and government officials have decided that elections should not be fair and fair. That's an unfair statement. Where did you get that from? Now, the fact that you desire something, and I say I look at it differently, doesn't mean that I don't want fair and fair elections. Why would a legislator not want fair and fair elections?
Don't we have a history of poor elections in Nigeria up until now?
You have asked me a question. Now, I, who is here, won an election. I would want my election to be free and fair, to enable me coming to the Senate. So why would I want to legislate that we don't have a free and fair election? It's not in my interest. People need to understand that. And this is part of the issues that we have. Why does anybody think that we would legislate so that there won't be free and fair election? The answer is this. We have issues. And because we have issues, because the legislature, particularly the National Assembly, has realized that is why there is a process in amending the act. If tomorrow any other thing occurs and we think that legislation is required, of course we'll do it. It is in our interest that elections are free and fair. But the opposition can continue to say, oh, this. Where's the evidence? Where's the evidence? Why would I not want a free and fair election? Why would I not want it? It's in my interest. It's in the interest of everybody. It is also in the interest of the opposition. But that doesn't mean that you then start to misrepresent facts solely because you have an agenda. And that is the problem with the opposition. The other day somebody said, he saw Mr. Mechi and Mr. Peter Obi talking about electronic vote. I said they couldn't possibly have said that. Both of them want to be president of Nigeria. And they say they don't know the difference between e-voting and IREF. So these are some of the misconceptions that we need to clear.
Unfortunately, no doubt this is the biggest conversation in the land concerning our political future. But unfortunately, we are pressed for time as always. Thank you so much, Senator Adegbonmire, for bringing so much insight, even though there's still lots of questions to ask you.
I would have loved to do that.
But that's the much we can take. Time, that's all we have time for here on Daybreak. And I'm Benga Ashiru. It's goodbye from me.
I'm Constance Ikopo. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.
And I'm Yolanda Robert. Please, you keep it here on Arise News. The morning show is next. Goodbye.